All right. Good evening. Good evening. It's 9:00 p.m. at night. Why are you guys live tonight, Tansey? What's going on? You guys don't do breaking news. This isn't how ex-cops break down news. We usually wait for all the wackadoodle stuff to pass by, and then we come and present you guys the real breakdown. But you know what? We were able to fact check this thing quick, fast, and in all sorts of a hurry. And I wanted to bring it to you, not because I wanted to be first, but because I was afraid that this story is so out of control, audacious, and ridiculous that you guys were going to read the headlines. And I know that people don't care about mainstream media anymore anyway. And you would just be like, yeah, right. We've seen this before, right? We've seen it time and time again. A salacious title, a crazy headline, and then it's just not really true. And so we just kind of ignore it. This isn't something you should ignore. We went down this rabbit hole tonight together, and I didn't care. I saw the salacious headline, Derek Chauvin, stabbed by potentially a former FBI informant. That can mean a lot of things. I'm not going to take that as it is on the surface. Perception is not reality. And Josh and I was at a Christmas party, and Josh starts going down the rabbit hole, and I'm like, my goodness. So what led it to us, and I'll let Josh tell you how we went down this rabbit hole, but this is important for everybody to know. This is why we've been saying that the FBI is so far corrupt. I told you, the Tanstradamus prediction told you that this was going to be an insane, an unfathomable election season. There were going to be things that happened during this election season that you were not going to believe. But in the age that we are in right now, where we can have information, where we have the freedom of not press, but the freedom of podcast sleuths, we're both ex-law enforcement officers, ex-military, I'm ex-special operations. I'm not saying that because it gives me any more credit than the next guy, but what I'm saying is that we're not just some sleuth talking out of our ass here. We really try to use our former skills, our investigative skills. We try to look at things as objective as possible, as if we were the police officers that were going to be called to the scene to investigate this and then turn over our information to the detectives, which could pave the road for the rest of the case. So it's very important that the first people on scene do their best to get it right the first time, that we have a solid foundation. We live in a time, lucky enough, that we're not regulated like Canada is going to be regulated starting the first of the year. And their podcast, and you're actually going to have a license to be a podcaster in Canada. Canada. I don't know if our podcast will be allowed in Canada come the first of the year. I don't know. But it's lucky for you that you don't have to rely on the bull propaganda media, the mainstream propaganda media. And I felt like that this post came out in such a way with such titles that I think the only way, I personally feel that they thought, okay, let's go ahead and make this so audacious that people just won't believe it. Like we've already fucked up this last week. Remember with the car at the Canadian border, we got that story wrong. I mean, how many stories have we gotten wrong in the last couple of weeks here, Josh?
Quite a few of them.
A few of them. That this one would just be another one of those, but it's not. This story is not that story. Actually, these headlines are actually as correct as they could be, and I don't want it to get swept under the rug. Well, how do you know, Eric? Well, how do you know? To get on top of this, one, we went through CNN, we went through Fox News, we went through NBC. What else did we go through?
I didn't even touch Fox News yet. I've got CNN up. The other one's what? CNBC.
Yep.
I've got Tucson Sentinel.
Yep.
And then LA Times.
Because this happened in Arizona. Right, in LA Times. And so we went through these. The headlines are generally the same. There is some slight confusions. I'll let Josh go over the little hiccups in the thing. But here's where we went. I said, this guy, by the way, the story goes here as people are starting to pile in here. Thanks for being in the live chat. Ryan, Aloso, Will, Craig, David. A lot of paid members actually in the chats, a couple non-paid members. Thank you. That's what allows us to leave Christmas parties and come and do this because you make it all worth it to us. Today's show brought to you by factormeals.com/Wolfpack and Ghost Bed. Sleep so good, it's scary. Ooh. I told Josh, I said, if this story is real about John, how do you say his last name? Tursack?
Turscack.
I'll tell you what, let's go ahead. I'm going to blow the bomb. I don't like to say bomb. I'm going to blow it wide open for you here in a second with what we found. Let's go to just the original article so I can just tell people what the story is right now. A lot of these guys sit in your patrol car right now. You don't know. You don't know what's going on. Pull up the article, put it up here in front of my face. Inmate, this is from CNN. Inmate charged with attempted murder after stabbing Derek Chauvin 22 times. This is what you can all read. You could go to your computers and read this. This is what mainstream media is telling you. I'm going to tell you what we found, which is way more impressive than what they brought here. Scroll up. The inmate accused of The inmate accused of attacking Derek Chauvin, the former police officer convicted in George Floyd's killing, stabbed him approximately 22 times with an improvised knife in an attack the Arizona inmate had been contemplating for around a month. Now, it's funny that they say around a month, because if we know that the 15th, pretty much a pretty bombshell, again, I hate the word bombshell, but a pretty impressive documentary, the fall of what is it? The fall of Minnesota, Minneapolis. Minnesota. The fall of Minnesota. What is it?
Fall of Minneapolis, I believe.
The fall of Minneapolis. If you haven't seen the documentary yet, you should. You should absolutely go and watch the documentary. They show the entire footage. They tell what was left out of the trial. Very crazy things here. This paints a completely different picture. All the things that you sold on the media, again, like the Breonna Taylor case, and I get that the documentaries could be very one-sided. Go look for yourself. Go watch the documentary. These are things that I said on this show 2 years ago when we first covered the Derek Chauvin case in length. When I read you the toxicology reports, the thing is that this documentary articulates everything I was saying 2 years ago. And everything I said, the perception is, again, Tanstradamus was correct 2 years ago. Look it up and give me the kudos that I deserve. Head over to Failure to Stop Instagram, give us a follow, subscribe to this channel, and comment and tell me how right I was. Go back and listen to our Derek Chauvin trial and listen to how right we were. Let me go back to the article. According to the federal, by the way, that was a month ago that it came out. So a month ago, this thing comes out. A lot of people are going to be, listen, this documentary could set Derek Chauvin free. There is amazing evidence, video, audio evidence. There is evidence from the courtroom that makes everybody that proves that the Derek Chauvin case was hyper politicized and was a political witch hunt. Did George Floyd deserve to die? No, he didn't. But could George Floyd have prevented this death? Absolutely, he could. Could the cops have prevented this death? Arguable, but not 22-year sentence. And definitely the other officers around Derek Chauvin should never see any jail cell for any amount of time. Go watch the documentary. Put it up. According to federal complaint, at approximately 12:30 p.m. local time on November 24th, Chauvin was in the law library at the federal correction. By the way, that's 1 week after this documentary release. And it takes time for these documentaries to spin their wheels and to get kind of going. So at the height, as it's going, as people are starting to watch this documentary, all of a sudden, Derek Chauvin, 12:30 p.m., the night before Thanksgiving, was in the law library, going hard on his case, doing work. It's looking good for him. In the law library at the Federal Correctional Institution in Tucson. I can't think of a more secure area of a prison than perhaps the law library, with one of the most protected, or has to be one of the most protected inmates of all time besides Epstein. And if you didn't believe the Epstein shit, now this is one of those cases that's going to make you go, what? Federal corrections officers immediately responded and employed OC spray to subdue Tursack. By the way, he was attacked by the 52-year-old, causing serious bodily injury, again being stabbed 22 times. Now, who is this guy? Who is this John Tursack? Which, by the way, this tourist, it reminds me of John Cusack from the movie Kaiser Sose. Remember Kaiser Sose, Josh?
Yep.
Great movie, by the way. Tursack, I don't know how to say this name, stated that his attack of Derek Chauvin on Black Friday was symbolic with the Black Lives Matter movement and the black hand symbol associated with the Mexican mafia criminal organization. All right. So this guy has ties allegedly to the FBI, and that's what led us down the rabbit hole. I will delay you no further. Let's pull up an article. I said, Josh, I want you right now, find this John Tursack guy, and if there's any ties to the FBI, let's get that out. And I didn't believe it. I was like, there's no fucking way. I don't care who tweeted what. There's no fucking way. Bring this article up from 2001. November 27th, 2001. November 27th, 2001. When did this stabbing happen? November what? 24th?
Let me scroll back up. 23rd.
23rd? A former Mexican, 2001. A former Mexican mafia member who admitted carrying out a number of crimes while working as an undercover FBI informant was sentenced Monday in 2001 in Los Angeles federal court to 30 years in prison. John Tursack, 30 at the time, expressed bitter disappointment with his sentence. He told U.S. District Judge Howard Matz, I didn't commit those crimes for kicks. I did them because I had to if I wanted to stay alive. And when I told the FBI agents, they just said, do what you gotta do. Wow, so a whole bunch of FBI agents getting a Mexican mafia the thumbs up to commit crimes to stay alive, and then stabbing him in the back and fucking him over for 30 years. Midway through the probe, however, prosecutors dropped him as an informer after he admitted dealing drugs, extorted money, and authorizing assaults while on the government payroll. Tursack pleaded guilty to racketeering and conspiracy to kill a rival in the prison-based gang. He could have received a maximum life sentence. If you are not familiar with the Gretchen Whitmer case, this is why it is important to stay in the rabbit hole. Gretchen Whitmer was basically kidnapped by FBI agents. There was two pothead knuckleheads, never carried it out, but had made mention while they were drunk and high that it would be funny if they did. And this guy, trying to work off charges for the FBI, went back and told the FBI, and the FBI was like, let's get on this. And he was like, they don't even have a fucking car. The FBI provided a car. They didn't have the means to do it with explosives. They provided an explosives guy. They provided several other guys to carry this out. I think at the end of the Gretchen Whitmer case, there were 6 FBI agents total on that case, if I'm not mistaken, and 2 fucking knuckleheads, 3 knuckleheads at the most. So the FBI is using their informants. It's all politicized. It's all weaponized. If you don't for one think 1 second question, what happens to Tursack after this? Does he get schwacked? Was he hired by the FBI to do this? Is he working? Was he going to get a lighter sentence? Here's what the FBI doesn't get. We live in an age where sleuths like us can get information way quicker than mainstream media can get it out. And we don't have the bureaucracy and the red tape to just put it out there. And listen, I am very serious about not putting something out there that isn't true. I didn't write this article in 2001, but Josh found it for me. From November 24th, was that the LA Times?
Yes, sir.
That's pretty damn spot on. Unless I'm crazy. Am I crazy? Tell me I'm crazy. I don't care. I've never cared. Am I crazy?
And here's a crazy thing, or not a crazy thing. Here's something that, because I highlighted the specific paragraph. Tursack, who had been charged with attempted murder, told corrections officers that he would have killed Chauvin if they had not responded so quickly, according to the complaint. So this is what CNN is reporting.
All right, show them what CBS reports, because that's a different story.
However, in contrast to what corrections officers reported, Tursack told FBI agents, even though he'd been thinking about assaulting Chauvin for over a month because he's a high-profile inmate, he denied wanting to kill him.
Right. So I was planning to kill him for a month, and now he told the FBI that he wasn't planning on killing him. And that's mainstream, man. That's okay. I don't mind little facts like that getting mixed up in the mainstream media. That doesn't bother me. But what does bother me is that we're not putting out the information that the FBI was attached to this case, just like it was attached to the Gretchen Whitmer case, just like it's allegedly attached to the J6, whatever you want to call it. Like the FBI was attached to the Biden diary, that it was attached to the Project Veritas incident. I mean, the FBI is so, and listen, FBI agents, I've worked with them. I've done some search warrants with them. I've got friends in the ATF and the FBI. I'm not saying they're all bad, but what I'm saying is upper echelon FBI is so far beyond corrupt. And there is a level of the FBI and the CIA that's so far beyond corrupt that you have no idea. And I told you that if you pay attention, the rest of this election cycle, we are in an era of podcasters, of social media influencers who are doing their research. I recently talked to a real journalist, quote unquote, a journalist, a college graduate journalist. And I asked, what was the last story that you took to your media company, Miss College Graduate Journalist with a master's degree in journalism? She said, that's not how it works. We get assigned a story and then we do the research. And then I said, and then who edits that? Oh, the news agency. So you're not doing anything. You're telling a story that, again, the media, who was owned by 6 parent companies, when it used to be owned by 56 companies 20 years ago, big mainstream media is literally putting out propaganda, and you are just a means to the end. You're a clog in the machine, as they say. That's why Tucker Carlson bailed. Journalism is dead. It's been dead for 20 years. Wake up, Gen Z. The propaganda machine, all of you Gen Zers, I encourage you to be journalists. Be a real journalist. Be like Tim Pool. Go out and find a fucking story. Be a Josh Deadleg Media. Be an Eric Tansey. Be a Failure to Stop. Be a Jonathan Bates. Go out and find the story, and not just a story that mainstream media tells you to go look at, Gen Z. Because if you start to dive down these stories, it'll start to come to the surface. Josh and I discussed this hours ago. Now it's starting to catch on. These other social media people, look, we thought we were first. We're not. There's so many people that are in on this stuff on the high level that they're going to put up some of these tweets that are already going out. I'll show you right now some really good tweets. This is Colin Rugg. Just in, the man who stabbed Derek Chauvin in prison was 52-year-old John Tursack, who previously worked as an FBI informant. How ironic. Chauvin was stabbed 22 times with a knife that was crafted by Tursack. This was where it gets interesting. Tursack was in prison after being found guilty of racketeering and conspiring to kill a gang rival. Before that, he worked as an FBI informant against the Mexican mafia organization. When being sentenced in 2001, which we read you that article, Tursack admitted that he carried out crimes while working undercover as an informant to the FBI. Quote, I didn't commit those crimes for kicks. I did them because I had to do it if I wanted to stay alive. I told the FBI agents, and they just said, do what you have to do. Now, I worked with confidential informants, and I've had my informants in the middle of a thing get into some pretty precarious situations, and we call it off. We can't do that. We can't allow our informants to commit crimes openly. We can't have them even be in a position where if we think there's a hit on them, we go through great lengths to protect them. We actually had an informant. We gave him code name Dead Man Walking. He was fucked. One of our officers on his off time was going by this dude's house and running surveillance to protect him until we knew that we could get him out of the city. Dead Man Walking. Every gang member in Raleigh wanted this dude's head. We named him Dead Man Walking. Obviously can't ever say his real name. That was a serious situation. We would never allow, but here's the thing. If he wanted to be put in a situation, we wouldn't say, do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. That's not how the justice system works. You can't work. I had an informant go to buy cocaine from somebody for me. And in the midst of this, he called the guy the FAGGOT word because he was buying the coke outside of a gay bar. And guess what the FAGGOT that he called responded? How he responded to me calling that word. He shanked my informant in the stomach, and my informant died within 5 minutes. Sad is scary stuff. That's real deal stuff. That we don't. That doesn't come back on us because listen, we didn't tell this guy to pick a fight with anybody. We didn't tell him to go dropping the F-bombs on folks. You can't tell somebody if you're the FBI. You can, right? We're above the law at the FBI now. We're so high. There's no doubt in my mind that the FBI. I'll say this. There is a doubt. I'll say it's more probable than not. I'll give it 80% chance that if you really investigated this, you would find some phone calls between Tursack and maybe the FBI or some other FBI informants down the lane. Like maybe the call sounds something like this. Hey, little Smoochie, we got a guy in prison and you got a friend in prison that you've been writing letters to. How much does Tursack care about you? I'll tell you what, we make this Chauvin guy disappear. We might be able to hook you up and you won't have to go to jail for life. And maybe you can send Tursack, a lifetime subscription of moon pies. That's what that looks like. You think I'm fucking playing. You think I'm kidding. I'm not. I bet you if you went down the road, if there was literally anybody but the FBI investigating this, that's what it would be like one of those movies that you pay $3.99 to rent. Bunch of people in the chats tonight. Thank y'all for being here. I know this is crazy, man. I don't mean to ruin your Friday, but I love that you guys are here. Davey says the FBI used the Grim Reaper, Greg Scarpa, to find and torture the head of the Klan in Mississippi back in the 60s until he started giving them information. Nothing new, right? There's another documentary out about MK Ultra that'll blow your mind. And the government even came out and paid the son of the victim that jumped out of the window. We all know that story, the MK Ultra story, the LSD story. They've admitted it. There's a whole documentary. They came and apologized to the kids. Said, yeah. I mean, we did an LSD experiment, and your dad yoked himself out of a window, and we're sorry. MK Ultra is what led. What's the serial killer? What's the serial killer? And Manson. Okay. Part of MK Ultra. You guys need to wake up. You guys need to wake up and stop saying this is crazy. It's no longer crazy. I just showed you an article from 2001 that Josh scrummaged through the interwebs to find you. I'm not lying to you. LA Times Archives, November 27, 2001, 12 a.m. Former Mexican Mafia member, John Tursack, 30 at the time. Mer 530, we pretend the FBI was honest before Hollywood made it look like they fought crime, not overreached, I don't know what the word there, thumbing citizens. And they do. They make these awesome movies. What's the movie with Benicio del Toro? Great movie, Sicario. They try to just like say that they're kind of towing the line and that you got to be a monster to hunt a monster. That's not what the FBI is doing, guys. That's the movies. But I always say the truth is in the movies. I always say that. Well, Project Bluebeam, all these, conspiracy theory, Mel Gibson. There's a lot of movies that kind of, and listen, that's a wackadoodle theory too. I don't want to dive down that rabbit hole. I don't want you guys to think I'm nuts. I'm not. I promise you. I'm like the biggest. Anytime this shit comes across, what do I say, Josh? What do I say every time? Probably not, right? What do I say?
I'm a C- student at best.
I'm a C-. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't done enough research on that. I have no idea. Let's find out. And then most of the research I read, I don't believe it anyway. I really don't. You guys know, anybody that's been following this channel for a number of times, you know how much time and how much effort we put into this. And when have I been wrong? When have I had to get on the interwebs and say, hey, you remember that case I broke down very thoroughly for hours for you guys? I got this wrong. I haven't had to do that because I pay 2 people on staff on the Failure to Stop network, on the C-minus Media network staff. I pay 2 different people to make sure that before I say something, it's not utter and complete bullshit. Because the only thing I have here is trust. The only reason this podcast survives on audio, listen, we're giving it our best shot here on the YouTubes. I'm having a great time tonight. I can't believe there's 27 people in here. We had probably one of the most amazing guests of all time today. And we got shit things, but he was speaking out against Soros, and he's running against Tim Kaine, and he is the underdog. He's the grassroots guy. If you're in Virginia, look him up. Jonathan Emord, look up today's episode. It got completely squashed. I'm excited now that we're on YouTube tonight and we're not being, so squashed. I mean, there's 25 people here in the chats, and I really appreciate that. But you know how hard I work on the podcast for the tens and tens of thousands of people that listen to us per week on podcasts. You guys know the work that we put into this. We have 6 people working at C-minus Media, running 5 podcasts a week for you guys. Nobody takes us lightly. The only thing we have is our integrity and not getting this wrong. Because there's too many out there. There's too many out there that if we get this wrong, if we sound stupid, if we sound crazy, you'll leave us for the next best guy. We can't take those chances. Our audio might suck sometimes. Video might be glitchy. Internet might be in and out. Those are things that we try to control. We're getting better at controlling them. But the one thing that's absolutely controllable is not feeding you propaganda. It's not feeding you what the mainstream media wants to feed you. It's not playing with your emotions. And I'm not playing with your emotions right now. But what I'm doing is I want you to not be confused at this moment in time. Don't be confused. If you're a real fucking cop, if you're a street cop and you went to a stabbing and you found out that this guy had ties to somebody who would want to kill them. Let's take the FBI out of it. Let's play a game really quick. This is what you would do as a cop. If you had little Smoochie, and let's say little Smoochie was Mexican mafia, and little Smoochie had been running some deals as a confidential informant over in Cripland. Maybe he was on Cross Street, which is ran by the Crips, but you got him as a CI, and he's buddy in with the head dude over there, and they're linking up some gun deals. They're trading guns back and forth with each other. And then all of a sudden, the rival gang member, the Blood from Fisher Street, ends up dead in prison. And you're like, oh, well, why is this Blood dude dead in prison? And you get a phone call from corrections and you say, hey, man, this guy's dead here in things. And we got some notes. We got some stuff that talks about him trying to broker some gun deals with the Mexican mafia. And you're like, holy shit. I'm brokering a big deal with the Crips with my confidential informant for the Mexican mafia. All of a sudden, now we've got the competition being taken out. That's exactly what you have going on right now. You have a dude that's attached to the FBI that literally said the FBI had told me to do what I got to do. And now I got Derek Chauvin 1 week after literally a bombshell documentary, The Fall of Minneapolis, comes out that is stunning everybody right now. Like, people are turning. I had more messages about that documentary. I wasn't going to watch it because I already basically thought I knew everything about that case. I had studied. I mean, it was the first podcast I ever did. Was Derek Chauvin? I wouldn't be a podcaster if Derek Chauvin wouldn't die. I went on a podcast with the Drinking Bros Podcast Network and the Black Rifle Coffee guys at the time. And they did a podcast. They just had me on as a guest because I owned a distillery. I left law enforcement to open up a distillery. They were trying to help a small business out. They hooked me up. They brought me on the show. I got some laughs. 4 months later, George Floyd dies. I get a phone call in the middle of the night from Ross Patterson. Says, what do you know about the George Floyd case? I said, I'd never heard of a George Floyd. He said, I'm going to send you a 10-second video. 10 o'clock at night. I look at the 10-second video. I said, Dad, dude, there's 1,000 things that could be going on in that video. It's 10 seconds. I don't know. I'll tell you this, perception is not reality. I mean, it doesn't look good, but I can give you 1,000 reasons he might be doing that. Literally 1,000. He's like, you could. I said, yeah. He says, what? We'll book you a travel right now. I said, what? And he said, get online, get here tomorrow. We'll put you on live. Whatever it takes, get here. I went to the Drinking Bros studio. I broke down the case. I gave them a plethora. I argued with them, debated with Dan Holloway. I gave them several different perspectives. And we came out of it pretty good. They hired me to podcast for them. I wouldn't podcasting if it wasn't for diving into the Derek Chauvin case. I've spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours researching Derek Chauvin's case. So I didn't want to watch the documentary, except I got so many messages that it would be a disservice to all of our fellowship if I didn't watch the damn documentary. And I watched it and I was blown away. And documentaries don't blow me away because I know that they're one-sided. I know that they often have agenda. I know that they play with the music. Look at the Casey Anthony bullshit documentary there. Look at all these alien documentaries. They want you to believe this, but they play with your emotions by putting in the music and everything. This documentary doesn't do that. It lays out, it's just the body camera footage. The entirety, the first 25 minutes of that documentary is just the body camera footage. Some of it played over and over again, like in slow motion. There's like some pointers, there's some arrows, there's some circles to show you what to keep your eye on. But they don't really say anything in that first 20 minutes other than the video. There's no music. There's nothing. They're not trying to play with your emotions. What they're trying to do is prove to you that the Derek Chauvin case was a political witch hunt, just like Breonna Taylor, just like George, Jesus. You switched the screen on me and it blew me away. Ferguson, Michael Brown. You guys, everybody's starting to wake up, and that's great. And that's all due to the podcasters. And that's why I say, like, if you are getting into podcasting, if you're one of these influencers, do your research, man. Treat your fans. Don't ruin what other podcasters like Tim Pool, like Sean Ryan, like Jordan, don't ruin the work that we're all trying. Don't discredit us because mainstream media has discredited themselves. Don't do to this profession what they're doing to theirs. I want our government to be as afraid of podcasters like us as the Canadian government. And if you're subscribing to Fox News and paying $3.99, $5, and actually last time I saw the Fox News subscription, it was like $19 fucking or something like that. It was crazy for their premium subscription. And you're not subscribing to somebody like OAN instead, that's not mainstream, or paying $3.99 to be on our Patreon or on our paid YouTube that gives us the opportunities to fly Josh to Florida to work with Conservative Ant on a project next week. That's where your money's going, folks. That's why we do this. And that's why we're so freaking thankful for all these guys in the chat. Every super chat we've ever gotten, every Patreon member that we have. Yeah, we love Ghostbed, we love Factor Meals, we love our sponsors for paying us, but that just pays our salary. That just keeps us on the air. It's all this extra money that you guys do that gets us to Albemarle, North Carolina to meet up with Yako Buians and the sex trafficking and the sex trafficking, human trafficking folks. It's the money that gets Josh down to Florida to set up with Conservative Ants, because we've got a really, really big event going on in Florida that we cannot wait to have it locked in for real. There's going to be tons of influencers there. Looks like it's going to happen in Tampa. I will give you guys plenty of time to plan for this. It's going to be epic. We also just caught word from the E-Mords folks that we might be doing some stuff with him in Virginia. So thank you guys. Thank you. Falconer says, is it Christmas? 2 shows in one day. I'm going to open it up to you guys. I'm going to stop. Heather Redden, by the way, they've got a great thing going to help mental health with police officers and things like that. And I really want to give them a quick shout out. Heather, if you'll just throw in the chats what you guys do and how they can get a hold of you. I think what you guys are doing powerful. We got to get you on the podcast at some point. We've just been very busy. By the way, Wednesday, we've got a vice president from the FOP on. We're going to hold this guy to the fire. This dude has no idea what he's getting into with me. I like him. I like his podcast. I like his content on Instagram. I'm not going to lie, but it doesn't matter how much I like it. I want to know why the FOP isn't doing more for street cops and reaching the younger generation cops. I want to know why the FOP is failing as bad as they are. I want to know why their 4.3 million email list or whatever it is basically irrelevant and people aren't paying attention to it. And the reason why is because they're just regurgitating what we hear every single day. Maybe I'm wrong. That's why we're going to have this guy in. But don't for one second think I'm just going to pander to him. I'm going to ask him the tough questions. I'm going to say, what is the FOP doing to fight against this whole kind of this movement of us having to do these sexual identification courses and gender affirming what does gender affirming care have to do with us? Like, why do we need to learn about it? Why is it important to us to need to be able to talk to people that I haven't met anybody that I've needed to talk to about it? I want to know what the FOP is doing to combat these kinds of things. I want to open up to you in the live chats. Davey says the lust of money and all the other BS is at every level. The people in the town I live in just found out that their local politicians have been lying to them about protecting the local farmland. Oh, Davey, I know that you weren't in the live chats earlier. You should have been. This guest that we just had on, Jonathan Emord, who is literally at the battle, has been at battle with the FDA and the FCC since the Reagan era, and it's discredited. It's deregulating. He's saying that the FDA is too regulatory, like this whole pasteurized milk, raw milk, that you can't go out and purchase raw milk, that you can't get cancer treatments that are working, that when cancer treatment works, the FDA shuts them down. This was an incredible podcast. It has been squashed. I got many messages as people said, well, he didn't even know you guys were live today. No Luck Chuck says, if you fly Josh down, he'll go through truck separation anxiety. You're probably correct. Mur 530 says, Pierre guy in Canada is awesome. May have a chance of Canada getting a libertarian instead of Castro's kid. Love it. Marines bloodbath. You alienate the truckers and your economy stops. Absolutely. We know that. Falconer says, poor Josh. That's probably because he has to go to Florida, and Florida sucks. I was born and raised there, and I fucking hate that place. I don't hate it. I just wouldn't live there. I like the seasons of North Carolina. Nice pledge shirt, Josh. Where's your axe? It was hateful. Brittany, the funny thing is Josh, we had some extra bonus money for the holiday, and Josh's idea was to send some of our key people some gifts, and by key people, he included you and Bosco Autry for managing our Facebook group, the private Facebook group Wolfpack, FTS_Wolfpack, where you can literally post anything you want. As on Facebook, doesn't kick you off. There has been some very offensive shit. There's some shit in there that's made me cringe. I love it. I like to cringe. I like when you play. I like that. If you want freedom, we have it. There's no, and if somebody reports them, we'll find it. I'll do my research. I'll find out who reported you. Don't worry. We'll get them out. I'll fucking shut the whole page down. People start reporting somebody. And if they don't call me first, let me know. If anything, I'll just delete the post. If you can give me a real good excuse of why that post is so hurtful to you, why you can't just scroll past it. That'd be really good. Because I don't really believe in censorship all that much. I believe in it within reason. And there's not very many reasons. Let's be real. Anybody got any chats before we get out of here tonight? Will Cray says, can I post my beehole? I mean, if Facebook will let you, I will let you. Listen, Will Cray's beehole? Nothing else is getting Will Cray laid. I met him at one of our meetups. He flew in from, I don't know, Wisconsin, Wyoming, wherever the fuck Will Cray's from. He came to one of the North Carolina meetups, and I looked at that guy. There's no reason he shouldn't have a girlfriend. It's got to be a personality issue. He's handsome. He's fine. Walks funny. Other than that, good-looking guy. Pretty good. I had good conversation with him. No red flags, really. In the 3 or 4 days that he was here, no real red flags with this guy. He's from Minnesota. The only red flag is, why doesn't he have a girlfriend? Why has he been single for 31 years? I mean, maybe it might be 41 years. Will Cray's the kind of guy, could be 41, could be 31. No telling. No Luck Chuck says, invitation open to stay at my house in Dunedin, Florida. I went to the Dunedin games. No Luck Chuck. Dunedin Scottish games. Really fun. Really enjoyed that. Back then you could drink beer in the Dunedin games. I don't know if they do that anymore, but Will Cray's 23. Here's the red flag. That's why. Yeah, that's okay. It's starting to make sense now. Will Gray, I would change that. Tell him you're 31. It makes a lot more sense. That's where you're losing them. They're like, shit, you look like that at 23. You are rode hard and put up wet, my friend. Tell him you're fucking 31, 32. And they're like, okay, all right. He's a weathering man, not a weathered man. So change that up. Help you out with that. Anybody got anything before we go? Marines Bloodbath. I started going to a store focused on more natural remedies and natural foods. I've been feeling a lot better. Good for you, Marines. It's so true, man. I did the carnivore diet. It's the best I've ever felt. Intermittent fasting was great. I just didn't, I like intermittent fasting. It's a lot easier for me. I did Joe Rogan's carnivore diet. I'm going to do it again on the 1st of January. I'm going to do it every year for the rest of my life. It's really cool to do. It sucks. It's hard. It's difficult, but there is a sense of accomplishment. I did it for 36 days. And it really gave me the motivation to get me through the year. I'm starting jujitsu again. So, I'm joining the cult. I'm going back. It's like Scientology sucks you right in. It's been 20 years, but it sucked me right back in. So I start with Gracie Raleigh on Monday. I got a scholarship. I got a disabled veteran scholarship. So I'll talk more about it when I get indoctrinated back into the cult. Davey says, Tansey, tell us a story from your days as a Saturday only rugby player at the park. Davey, a Saturday only player at the park, a Saturday only hooker at the park. Now, Davey, I'll tell you, when I played rugby, I was Division II rugby, and I definitely did not just play on Saturdays. We played, we did 2 practices a week, a game day on Saturday, and then we coached rugby on Thursdays or Wednesdays. So anyway, basically I was on the rugby pitch 4 days a week, pretty much, when I played rugby. But listen, I have 5 kids, homie. I have 5 kids. I cannot go out there in rugby with 5 kids, like the broken arms, the black eyes. I mean, look at this. I got, what is it on this side of my face? The scar here. Yeah, right over here. Got a nice little scar. My wife hates it. I love it. But no, she can't do the broken things. I can't even barely skateboard anymore. I broke my arm last year in the Belmont Bowl skateboarding, doing some pool skating, and on Thanksgiving Day, she was pissed. You know, when you have 5 kids, dog, you can't do that. Tuesday and Thursday training. Yes, it was Tuesday and Thursday practices. You're right. And then the kids practice was on Wednesday. All right, what else you got? I'm going to give you guys a couple more minutes. Anybody got any pressing questions for Tansey or Josh before we get out of here? Thank you guys for tuning in. It's 30 of you guys tonight on the live chat. Really appreciate that. A lot of paid members, man. A lot of paid members. Can't thank you guys enough. Michael Hendricks. Gosh, what a fucking warrior he is. Here all the time. Vulcanator, always. Thank you guys. Anybody else? Anybody got something?
John sent a new hard time over a little bit ago that's up on Patreon. So
okay,
there's some more Patreon up now.
Yeah, we do have a killer Patreon going, lots of extra content on Patreon. How do you guys like the new sports show? Hit yes in the chats if you like the sports show. Hit no if you fucking don't like it. Listen, be honest. This is the trust tree. We don't care. Come on, hit it up in the live chat. Hit a yes if you like the new sports show. Put a no if you don't. Put an Put an EAH. Put an EHH if you're about it. Michael Henry says, how does Josh stay so... How the sports show is good. Yes. Michael Hendricks says, how does Josh stay so awesome? Drugs, lots of drugs. I fucking listen. You know why our show barely got off the ground today? Drugs. We're going to have an intervention with Josh. Too many drug days. He got high as shit last night.
Mm-hmm.
Got high as shit last night. We're going to do an intervention. Listen, starting to get to your business. You missed one day in almost a year. One fucking day. You're going down the tubes. Might as well move to San Francisco and start shitting in the streets. Marines Blood Blast. I stopped listening to the sports show to listen to this. Was the sports show on right now? No, it was yesterday. Fuck out of here with that, Marines Blood Blast. How much content do we give you guys for free? So much. So much content. Will Gray says, stop with the math. I agree. But Josh, how do you stay so awesome?
It's sleep on the cool side of the bed.
Okay, fair.
Or gummies.
Fair. I stay cool because of factormeals.com, promo code Wolfpack50 for 50% off. These are fresh meals made ready to eat. Next level meal prep. Not going to go into it, but Marines Blood Blast podcast. Good. So we got a couple of yeses. Anybody else got a yes, no, Yes, no, on the sports show? Let me know. Oh, look, Chuck says yes. Good. I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you're into it. I don't know if my computer's just going slow, but these comments seem to come in at like 5 at a fucking time. But, it takes like a few seconds to come over here. Will Gray says he's just worried for after football ends. Will Gray, we've talked about that. Don't think that, we're amateurs, that we haven't thought everything through. UFC is going to be really big. We're really in. We have Pat Miltech, UFC legend, Hall of Famer. We have him coming on Night Shift TSI. He wrote a book. He's a big conspiracy guy. He's into whole natural foods and remedies and healing. He was healed from a bad disease by natural remedies. He's really into it. That'll be on Night Shift Top Secret Information. Because we're all in with Valor Bare Knuckle Fights now, we have a new, I don't know what to call her. Basically, you guys have seen a lot of new guests that we have coming on, right? We've had a lot of extraordinary guests in the last couple of weeks. That's because we've made friends. We've made friends in this industry, and we're starting to get just fed overload. I mean, we got the FOP vice president coming on. You know, we had the street cop training guys on. Jocko Booyens, the human trafficking hunter of 30 years. We've had a bunch of them on.
Future Senator Jonathan Eland.
Yeah, Ken Shamrock, Kenny from the Black, Ken Shamrock, UFC legend, WCW legend. So we're in. All these guys are starting to want to come on our show. We're not even having to really go out and look for them. By the way, my kids, we all got invited to go out to Tim Pool's place. Didn't get to go on the podcast, but we got to go to Tim Pool's podcast compound. My kids got to skate with Richie Jackson. They got to skateboard with Tim Pool. Magical, absolutely magical. So we've got a kind of an in going on there. We've got some ins going on. Look, I don't want to break this open. Oh, also in my book is getting me a lot of attention right now too in that community, because there's a lot of people reviewing the book that are really pretty extraordinary in my opinion. So, Valor BK in January. So yeah, we thought it was going to be December and we were going to be going to California with them. It looks like maybe that's changing. Yeah, we've got hockey coming up. Going back to your question, we've got a bunch of UFC athletes. Remember, I was on Drinking Bros Sports Tailgate Legends for over a year, and I did tailgate shows with a different legend every week. Matt Dodge from the infamous punter. He was one of my favorites. Matt Dodge was the punter for the Giants. All he had to do was punt it out of bounds, and the Giants won. And instead, he punted it to the Eagles player Deshaun Watson, and he ran it back. And it's the famous photo of Tom Coughlin throwing his headphones off. But I had him on the show. He's hilarious. He's a comedian. He makes fun of himself. He laughs at it. I had him on for the 10-year anniversary. We reenacted it. I got to wear the helmet he wore that day. Excellent time. Miss Muhammad Ali, Muhammad Ali's first wife, Khalila Ali, had her on the show. She's amazing. We've had Antoine Harris from the Patriots, Rob Thomas from Dallas Cowboys. He's a MVP, a Super Bowl MVP for Dallas Cowboys back in the day. Has an incredible story about getting in a fight with who's the famous Dallas Cowboy back then. With the earrings and shit. Not Deion Sanders. No, not Emmett Smith. Not Deion Sanders. Who's the other one that did a lot of blow? Cheated on his wife all the time. Anyway, you guys know,
Dennis Rodman is the only other person that comes to my mind.
No, I actually was in a suite. I actually got to be in a suite. Michael Irvin. I'm so sorry. Michael Irvin. He's got a hilarious Michael Irvin story. We've had Willie Parker from the Steelers on. So anyway, in the off season, Will Craig, to go back, we're going to, all those guests that I'm friends with still, well, not friends, but I have all their information. We'll fill their weeks up with those guys. A lot of UFC fighters for the UFC fight weeks, hockey players. I was really in with a hockey podcast back in the day called, I can't even remember the name of their podcast. It was the official podcast of the Carolina Hurricanes, and they were great. They did a live show at my distillery. It was fantastic. Really cool people. But it was like 4 of them, and one of them was a girl. She was awesome too. But anyway, so you got 4 of those to come on for hockey. I was a personal sommelier for a head coach for the Carolina Hurricanes that was pretty famous. And so we can get him on during hockey season. And so just when football ends, we got baseball. We'll have some players, some card collectors. I've got a guy that's a PI for Topps, Fleer, baseball cards. Those companies, Topps and Fleer, buying and selling counterfeit cards and taking down people selling counterfeit and fake autograph cards. He was an ex-cop that I worked with. He's a really cool guy. Now he travels all around the country hunting counterfeit baseball cards, hockey cards, football cards. I think he's going to be a great guest for them. So I think you guys are going to really, really enjoy that. Greg says, what the fuck? I don't know, Greg. I don't know. What are we? What the fucking? I don't know. Yeah, it's a random live, Greg. We did the Derek Chauvin stabbed by an FBI informant. I had to get it out. There was a lot to talk about. And I just said, fuck it, dude. Let's run an hour. We're at 50 minutes. Let's just keep going. Now I'm just opening it up to you. This is me just saying Merry fucking Christmas. And yeah, please have some rugby players on. You know, Davey, when I did Tailgate Legends, you remember the show, Davey. I had an entire D2 rugby team on. They just gotten back from Scotland. They played like 4 games in Scotland. And they came back. They got extremely drunk at the venue. They were doing the boat races, and it was a live podcast. And the funny part is that I'm still extremely close friends with the owner of that establishment. But at the time, he didn't know me from Adam. And I come in there. He's excited about the Tailgate Legend show. I had done it at a couple other restaurants and bars and had some real pro athletes in there. And so he was like, "Well, how do I get on this? Like, I want somebody in my venue." And I was like, well, the only show I've got coming up next is this rugby team that just got back from the Scotland tour, and they're here. They're all available. And he was like, let's do it. He had no idea that they were going to drink him out of house and home, that they were going to do boat races in the middle of the venue, that they were going to drunkenly fall onto the table that we're podcasting on and just I mean, it was the shenanigans. And all when they're for New Zealand and for Ireland and so everybody's trying to talk. They're all smashed out. You couldn't understand anybody. There was a South African rugby player there, a couple of New Zealand rugby players there, an Aussie was there, two Irish rugby players and a Sri Lankan rugby player was there. These guys were from all over the globe, and they're all drunk trying to get their stories in, and you couldn't understand anything. You remember that one? Yeah, that was a couple of years ago. Dude, listen, what a fantastic episode. I wish I could go back and listen to the Drinking Bro Sports Tailgate Legend show. I really had a lot of fun doing that with those guys. That was really, really, really cool. Yeah, it was the bootlegger tour across the Highlands. You're exactly right. It was really cool. And yeah, I actually they did a rugby party at my distillery, and there was a couple of guys from Akron, Ohio, the rugby team from Akron, Ohio, that came in town, and that was really cool to hang out with them. So, and we had some of the Crusaders and the New Zealand All Blacks held a seminar inside my distillery, and they gave me a Crusaders jersey. They autographed it, and there was a flanker and a hooker running the seminar that both played on the All Blacks. It was really fucking cool. And they signed me like a little poster, and they gave us a jersey for letting them use our distillery. That was really, really cool. So, and yeah, Davey, you used to work at USA Rugby. So yeah, you get me somebody from USA Rugby. And who's the fast black guy? The really tall, fast black guy from USA Rugby. I'm blanking on his name right now. Love to get him on.
I do not know rugby at all.
Or the guy that played for the Patriots, the safety, not Ebner, Nate Ebner. He actually played safety for the Patriots, and Bill Belichick gave him permission to go and play for USA Rugby while he was currently playing for Perry Baker. Perry Baker. I'm so sorry, Perry Baker. Yeah, lightning fast. One of the fastest human beings I've ever seen in my whole life with my own 2 eyes. Perry Baker. Carlin Idol's dope as shit too, but Perry Baker, just a fucking speed demon in rugby sevens for USA Rugby. Yeah, but I mean, seriously, would take anybody. I think we have an Olympic swimmer that she would come on. Got a couple, my kids have the X Games podcast stuff where they've had like Ryan Sheckler on. They've had
Margera.
They had the girl that just won the X Games. She's the youngest chick to ever. Reese Nelson, Wyatt Hammond. These are like the youngest guy to ever do the Hollywood 12. They've had a lot of, like, if you're into skateboarding, they've had just about everybody on that show. They had Jared Taylor from Black Rifle Coffee. We got about 6 more minutes of this live, and then I'm going to bail on you guys. Does anybody have anything else that they want to add? Greg says those rugby guys know how to fall. That's the key. It reminds me of hockey in a sense, that there are unspoken rules about how to hit people. Well, they're not unspoken, Greg. They're not unspoken rules. In rugby, you must tackle below the nipple, and you have to wrap up. So you can't chop somebody's legs. You can wrap their legs up, but you can't chop them. You can't shoulder into anybody. If you're going to tackle somebody, your arms must go around that human being, and you must go to the ground with them, meaning that you can't just run, smack them, and then they fall. That's a penalty. That's a card. It can get you ejected. You must go with them to the ground. Also, there's no pads in rugby, so that the hits aren't, you can't just go at somebody full speed and hit them as hard as you can. Because you're probably going to hurt yourself in that process. So yeah, it's very friendly yet very violent. My favorite part about rugby that separates it from any other sport is that the opposing team must have a social. The home team must provide a social. So after every rugby game, at any level of play, collegiate, D1, D2, D3, just the field team, pro team, any rugby union, anywhere that you play rugby, the home team must provide a social and the players must attend. And oftentimes there's a lot of teams that have rules where if you don't go to the social, you're suspended the next game, because it's very important, that friendly, violent friendship after the game. And that's what makes rugby just so incredibly different and a much more magical. Yeah, a shoulder will get you a red card and multi-patch ban. Yeah, I mean, they take it very seriously. There's no head hunting in rugby. But you'll see a lot of hugging. It's very homoerotic in rugby, but it's that testosterone. It's very strange release of testosterone. I mean, these guys are battling it out with no pads. They're always bleeding. Their noses are always fucked up. They're battling. They stay on the fields for 80 fucking minutes and there's no stops. Once you watch rugby and you go back to watch football, you're bored. You're like, why is it so slow? They don't leave the field. If you leave the field, you can't come back on unless it's if you left to go get stitches and stop the bleeding. That's it. And a lot of times they do it on the field and they play around you. So very much different. So imagine going onto the field and knowing that you're on for 80 minutes. You're going to get a small break at halftime, and that's it. Michael Hendricks says that he stopped wearing women's underwear. Random. I love it. I never wore women's underwear. Thought about it, though. I like the fabric. Never had the balls to do it. You guys got 5 minutes. Anybody else? 5 minutes. Ask me anything. Ask Josh anything. We have 5 minutes. What do you guys want to know? We never do this. By the way, don't forget the FBI killed fucking Derek Chauvin. Go back to the beginning of the show. Start this from the beginning, and it's not a salacious headline. Let's not forget it, guys. FBI agent, a former FBI agent, really did kill Chauvin. We fact checked it. What am I drinking? It's a Belgian triple, Greg. It's a Belgian triple, new Belgium triple, and very yeasty, very bready. 9%. It's my first beer of the night. It's probably my only beer for tonight. I was running my bar. My distillery had a private Christmas party tonight. And if you went back to the beginning of the show, which is a really great episode, by the way, Josh just started blowing me up because he's so good at what he does. And we went down this rabbit hole. And once he proved it, once he found me that article from 2001, I said, create a stream. Let's go. And here we are. Wouldn't be here without Josh. Deadleg Media. Michael Hendricks says, now I'm in Cuyahoga Falls.
Cuyahoga.
Going to the auto parts. Random. Marines bloodbath. Wait, he actually died? No, I'm so sorry. Fuck. Chauvin did not die. Stabbed 22 times. He's going to he's said to recover. You never know with these things. He did not die. I'm so sorry. Listen, when I fuck up, I'll tell you I fucked up.
This is Tommy Boy, Cuyahoga Falls, Callahan Auto.
Greg says he'll ship me what? The seasonal release. I'll ship you if you want. I missed something there. I missed something there. You said, what are you drinking? I told you what I was drinking. You said the seasonal release. I don't know what that means. And then you said, I'll ship you some if you want. Get back to me on that one. I missed the part. Fulcanator, stabbed 22 times. Yes, by a former FBI agent from an article that we read to you from 2001, where this guy says, I don't agree with my sentence because the FBI made me commit every crime that I did. And they said, do what you got to do. When I told them, if I don't do this, they'll kill me. Like, this is the Mexican mafia. What do you want me to fucking do? And they're like, do what you got to do. And then he did what he got to do. And then they fucking sentenced him to 30 years in prison for it. And now 1 week after Derek Chauvin's bombshell documentary comes out, while Derek Chauvin is sitting in the law library working on his case, minding his own business, this former FBI agent, Mexican mafia guy, 1 week after literally everybody's talking about the fall of Minneapolis, everybody was watching it. Then he stabs him. I don't know. Listen, fall of Minneapolis. Go and watch it. It's an incredible film. You can watch it on YouTube. You can, I mean, it's streaming in some other places. Michael Henry says he was just in Akron, or I was in Akron just now. Yeah, there's if you're around the Akron rugby guys, tell them Tansey from the Bootlegger says hello. That was actually the only match I've ever played in that they called the match 5 minutes early, and because we wouldn't stop fighting. But then we all went to the social and it was great. And the guy that was there, this was, it was a couple of years ago. And the guy came over to me and he was like, hey, did you play against us, a few years ago? And I said, yeah. And he was like, you were a flanker at the time. And I said, I was still a flanker. I wasn't quite a hooker yet. Because I moved to hooker for the last couple of games or a couple seasons of my rugby life. And he said, Jesus, man, that was the craziest game. We reminisced about that game, but it was really cool. So if you're in Akron and you run into any of the rugby guys there, tell them Tansey from the Bootleggers, the old Bootleggers flanker says hi. Greg says $15 MSRP for a 12-ounce bottle for the Bourbon County Stouts. Again, I don't know what the fuck Goose Island Bourbon County Stouts. Yeah, that's so rad. Yeah. Jeez. $15 for one bottle. I used to hunt the beers, dude. I'm a certified specialist of wine. I'm a sommelier. I graduated the Gallo Wine Academy, Society of Wine Educators, quarter of master sommelier programs. I was all into that before I opened up my distillery when I left law enforcement. But while I was a law enforcement officer, when I was in the military 20 years ago, I was between training and deploying. After I got selected, Special Forces Assessment Selection, between every single school, when we had off time, I was going to wine tastings and wine classes. I used to be really into that. I don't do it anymore, Greg. I don't hunt anything down. If it presents itself in front of me, I absolutely enjoy it and I crush it. But I'm 40 years old with 5 kids. I don't have the money or the time to go hunt down any of these magical beverages. Although I think they're really fucking cool. I can't. I can't do it. I can't do it. Well, okay. I actually went into the store that Floyd used the fake $20, and that whole area is still super fucked. Well, great. Yeah, that's right. Because you're from over there. Get us a picture. Get us a selfie. Get us a selfie where it all went down. Put it on the FTS_Wolfpack private group. I want to see you. You know what I want to see. You know what I want to see. You don't have the balls. You don't have the balls to go to that spot. You don't have the balls. I'm not going to say this. Do what you have to do. Let me take a page out of the FBI's book. Do what you have to do. 1997, Tursack became an informant in an investigation that resulted in the indictment of more than 40 alleged Mexican mafia members associated. John Tursack, 30, expressed bitter disappointment with his sentence. He told the U.S. District Judge A. Howard Matz, I didn't commit those crimes for kicks. I did them because I had to if I wanted to stay alive. I told the FBI agents, and all they said was, do what you have to do. You see what I'm doing, Will Gray? Do what you got to do. Look, if you die, you die. If they beat your ass, they beat your ass. Oh, man. I mean, listen, I think the whole thing is sad. I don't want to downplay that. I do. I personally empathize. I don't want to see anybody die. I really don't. But I think it's equally as shitty as somebody dying, somebody being politically persecuted in a witch hunt. And something happening that doesn't have anything to do with justice here in my country. And I feel like I want to say that I fought for justice, So that's what I don't. All right, I'm going to get out of here. Joseph Fulkenair says, Drew didn't renew his contract and he's on his own. I hope that answers your question. Yes, we do a 1-year contract, a 1-year commitment. I don't really do contracts. I tell everybody that's on staff, if they want a contract to guarantee them 1 year, I'll do that. I don't really want to do it. Listen, you'll bail on me before I bail on any of you guys. I don't bring anybody on that sucks. Drew was amazing. Everybody that I try to bring on here, I think does really, really well. It's hard to do a 1-year commitment to a podcast. You have to give every Friday of your life. He had to be here every Friday. He had to be here every Thursday. And the amount of, when you're doing 2 shows, the amount of research that goes into those 2 shows, for somebody who is retired, and kind of wants to be retired and wants to go on cruises and do the things, it's a lot. Was I sad? Was I upset when he left? I was upset. I think mainly because I didn't see it coming. I didn't have a warning. And that's, I mean, it's not like I deserve one. It's not like it's not like anybody owes it to me or anything like that, but it would have been a little nicer, a little bit more planning. But, at the end of the day, I was sad to see him leave. Didn't want it to happen. But I also get that, you did it for a year. You could say that you were a professional podcaster. You're retired and you want to do your own thing at your own pace. And I'm happy. And look, we gave him the show, Com Center. That was a show that we came up with here on Failure to Stop. It was a show that we came up with together. But I'm not that guy. I wasn't gonna do anything creative with it. So let him go off and do it. Same with Andrea. I did the same thing with Andrea. Andrea was a little bit different, but that's why the shows continue. The show goes on, baby. I'm not going to take that show. I'm not going to fight him over that show. That's, I wouldn't have done anything with it because a comm center is only a comm center with Drew Breezy. True crime, anybody can do true crime. Not everybody can do a comm center like John and Drew. So, they're doing it at their own pace. They're pre-recording, we have to do it live here. It takes a lot of commitment to do a live show. It's not easy. So, he'll be missed. He's still around. He's still around. But at the end of the day, we're going to go on. The show goes on. We were going to make changes in 2024, and those changes, they're big changes, right? Sports show. We really wanted to add a sports show. We wanted to maybe take some shows and put them on their own separate channel, like maybe true crime. We've talked about a lot of things. We make some business decisions. We're doing a lot more traveling now. Stand-up comedy's kind of taken off. We got the book thing coming up. So it was pretty much a shit or get off the pot. It was like, dude, you're either in it for 2024, which is going to be insane and even more of a commitment that we already had, or you gotta go. We gotta do something. But I was hoping he would stay on for another year. But I also understand, he's at that point. He doesn't want to fly around all the time. Like, he doesn't want to go to meetups and do these live events like that we're planning on doing for 2024. Like, we're tripling, quadrupling down on these meetups and flying around and seeing you guys. So that's a lot, man. That's a lot. Because we're the guys that we have on the show right now, Tyler, J Rama, John, Josh, we can squeeze into Anthony Conservative Ant. We can squeeze into an Airbnb. We can share hotel rooms. You know what I mean? A guy like Dro, he's earned it. He's got to have his own, right? A little bit bougie. That's okay. He's earned it. Put in 30 plus years of phenomenal law enforcement. You know what I mean? And I think that weighs on. I'm like, yeah, the guy doesn't want to do that kind of stuff anymore. He doesn't want to be crashing on couches and floors and, doing the kind of shit that we do. So now we got Jason, who's just a degenerate firefighter, was a chief. Now he's like some kind of district commander. He came from One More and I'm Out of Here podcast. He still has that. He's doing sports with John. We've got John. We're really close to getting John on almost. He's already kind of full-time, but like full-time. That's our goal, at least with this channel. And Josh, full-time. Not that Josh isn't already full-time, but like, we definitely want to get Josh, we can't get Josh to do any more than he already does. So he does so much. If we got him to do any more, I don't know. Could you even handle it? I don't even.
Oh no, I could probably just sleep less. I could lose 1 more hour of sleep. I think it'd be okay.
Yeah, we could give you one more hour.
Yeah,
yeah.
One more hit of meth, and I'm good for the night.
I hope that solidified you. It's exciting to have 33 people here this late at night. It means the world to me, guys. The 226 hours that one of you got, the top 1% of you guys, there was more than one of you. What? Although that was just on Spotify. Apple comes out on the 1st with all of those things, man. I never thought in a million years, when I saw that we made 100,000 downloads in a month, I like lost my shit, not including what was coming from YouTube or Patreon or what was coming from Rumble or anything like that. Just on podcast alone, you guys are crazy, man. You guys are crazy. it's great, Davey. I am letting it sink in, man. It's cool. You guys are all fucking cool. And Davey, one of the coolest guys I got to hang out with. I think, unfortunately, the time I hung out with you, I was extremely hungover in Texas. I had the worst headache at that meetup. I apologize. It was UFC fight that night before, and I did shots. I don't typically do shots. And I did shots, and I can't remember who I even did the shots with. Who got me to? I think it was Giorgio and Delco Dan. But I apologize for that. All right, guys. Hey, anything else for you, Josh?
No, this is crazy.
Oh God, the hardest fuck lunch party. I just did the one right here in Wilmington. Holy shit. Yeah, I just went to the Hard AF with the Wilmington launch. Jeez. I was, by the end of that night, yeah. I don't really do shots or drink heavy, but I feel bad because fans want to like give me a shot or something like that. And I don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, don't do that, But I try to keep it like within reason. And I always try to play the part as I'm sober, right? Like I'm always trying to like stay focused. And oh yeah, you guys got me in Nashville too. Who got me in Nashville with all the shots? What was that kid? The guy that does all the shirts. I think he lives in Kansas City. Dave, you probably know who he is. I don't know if you were at the Nashville meetup. Anyway, this guy was from the Nashville meetup, and he really got me hard, man. And yeah, that was a bad one. Yeah, in Austin, Texas. Yeah, we hung out. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, that hard as fuck launch. Yeah, that was the one I was talking about being hungover for, because Giorgio the night before. We did some shots and that was terrible. But the hardest fuck seltzer in Wilmington this last week or 2 weeks ago before Thanksgiving, a female there bought me I don't know her name either, but a guy bought me a shot. I already had like 3 of those hard AFs, and then a girl bought me a submarine or something like that. Anybody heard of that shot? Bill Schofield, you're right. That was the one in Nashville. That was in Nashville. I'm getting acid reflux just thinking about this, but it's a Red Bull. They poke a hole in the Red Bull, they drain the Red Bull, then they fill the Red Bull up with vodka, like with a half of vodka, and then you open it and you shotgun it, and they call it like a submarine shot or something like that, missile shot. Oh God. I'm throwing up in my mouth thinking about it. I did that. As soon as that hit me, I got an Uber and got the fuck out. I ghosted everybody. Irish exited. I knew it. I knew like once I took that thing, the world started kind of spinning. I was like, nothing good will happen from here on out. So I Irish exited, went out the door, didn't tell anybody, jumped in an Uber, went back to the Airbnb. And that was it. And then I drove home early in that morning and then worked the rest of the day and tried not to, and pretended that I wasn't sober. Yeah. But yeah, no, that was that was good. Yeah. So I apologize when I see you. I know you wanted to rage at that party, Dave. I know you wanted to rage. I think you brought me shots, if I'm not mistaken, in Austin. I think you brought over a lot of shots for me, and I was denying them. I was like telling you I can't. It was either that or maybe it was just hard AFs. I can't remember what you were bringing over to me, Davey. I really don't. But I just remember I felt like an asshole, but my head was hurting so bad. I could barely stay for that whole thing. That's how bad my head was hurting. Like it was crazy migraine, or like not a migraine, just like a hangover. So yeah, tough. Hey guys, thank y'all for hanging out with us tonight. Until this weekend, we've got Sunday night shift TSI with Conservative Ant, special guest. And yeah, oh, Davey, you said you bought everyone drinks that day. Yeah, okay. So what was that bar tab, Holmes? So before we leave out of here, what was that bar tab? It had to be fucking outrageous because you were sloppy drunk too. So you would add a lot. Yeah, we're going to leave here, but I got to see what this bar tab was. Davey, what was the bar tab? I need to see it, Davey. I hope you're still here. $467.52. God bless America. You probably didn't tip either, did you cheap bastard? I wouldn't tip on that one either. I'd be like, well, listen, I'm not tipping. I'm not tipping. Oh, that was epic though. It was fun to watch. It was fun to see you. Next time I won't be hungover. I didn't plan on being hungover. That's not me. But that stupid UFC fight and Giorgio buying me fucking shots, man. Oh, they added gratuity. Good for them. Good for them. Good for them. All right, guys. What a great night. Until next time, guns up, get him.